In our experience, there's two ways to grow your team. You can grow them by growing the current players you have, or you can bring people on board and upgrade the sales team. I'm going to quote Nick Saban, even though I'm not an Alabama fan. Excuse me, for all those Alabama fans out there. I went to LSU, so if you now understand. But at any rate, Nick Saban was doing an interview not too long ago. So they said, Nick, how do you build world-class championship teams? You've got more college national championships than anybody in the last 10 years. What are you doing? He said, well, you know, it's really easy. If you bring in A players won't tolerate B players. And B players don't want to work with A players. So if you want a world-class team, just bring in A players. Here's the challenge. Most people haven't really had the time or the experience or the knowledge to figure out, what does an A player look like? What do they look like for your business, in your environment, in your selling world? Who are they selling to? Why are they selling to those people? Should they be selling to somebody else? What's the sales cycle? Is it really that long, or could it be shortened? So what we do is we really help identify what is the ideal salesperson or sales manager or VP look like that's going to be able to accelerate and quarterback your team. Then, once you've identified that, a lot of times the traditional models of recruiting just don't work. Think about it. This is what traditionally it happens in sales recruiting. You post an ad, you get a bunch of resumes, you sort through piles of resumes, and let's face it, resumes, they're kind of like vacuum cleaners. They suck. They tell you everything except what you want to know. They're generally written by a third party who doesn't even know that candidate, and it's just a brochure for a candidate. So what's important about resume is not so much what's there, but what's missing, and how do you know what to look for. The next step, typically people bring in the candidate, they do an interview, they ask all the wrong questions, and the salesperson is really good at first impressions, right? Because that's what they do. So they go on along the process, they make an offer, and then 90 days later they're frustrated because the salesperson they hired can't sell a Hershey bar to a 3-year-old. They're just frustrated. But they've got some things going on, and salespeople are really good at coming back and saying, hey, I got this one, it's going to happen. Oh, this is a good one. I can't wait for this one to close. And you keep hoping and praying. And that's the fourth step of traditional recruiting for salespeople. Hope and pray. It's like you get down on one knee and go, I hope I don't have to go through this process again and hire another salesperson who can't sell. So what do? We help you identify your ideal salesperson, sales manager, or VP. We help you go to non-traditional sources and resources for really attracting the right people. It's kind of like fishing. The difference between a professional fisherman and an amateur fisherman. About $200,000 a year. Because the amateur fisherman goes out and he throws his line in the water and hopes something bites. Well, a professional fisherman knows that there are about 7 factors that really impact the fish. Number 1, what's the barometric pressure? 2, is there a front moving in or moving out? 3, what's bottom structure? 4, what's the water color? 5, what's the water temperature? And then 6, what lure do you throw that's similar to the bait they're already eating? And then 7, what's the retrieve speed? And that depends on air temperature. Well, as a professional sales development expert, we help you define all those things about your current salespeople. We take a look at the strengths and weaknesses of your current team. If you bring in an A player and you got a B manager, that A player is not going to stick around. So through the process that we've defined very specifically for sales, which is very different than any other aspect of your business or department in your business, we help you attract those people. Then we automatically process sales assessments that tell you not only can they sell, but will they sell. And that's a huge difference. So salespeople typically come in 3 or 4 categories. Can sell but won't. Can't sell and don't. You can probably recognize those pretty easy. Can sell and will. Those are the superstars we want to upgrade the team with. And then we've got the Rudies of the world. Remember the old Notre Dame movie, Rudy? Can't sell but does. A lot of people are throwing those resumes away and not proceeding in the right way with those interviews. Next, we teach you how to do the interview. The interview is really more about, let's turn this interview into an audition, not can you sell, can you prospect, what's your experience. We have to covertly gather information from salespeople because remember, they're good at interviewing and typically they've interviewed more than you've interviewed salespeople, so they have the upper hand. So we really smoke out what's going to happen 90 days later and tell you before you get there, is this someone that's going to grow? Are they going to grow your team? Are they stronger than anybody you have? And what kind of success do you expect? How long is it going to take for you to get a return on investment for this salesperson for your business? And we help you understand all that. Then the last step is really, really important, and that's your 90-day onboarding program. When a salesperson comes on board, they're usually given their computer, their workstation, their BlackBerry, their iPhone, whatever tools they need. They're introduced to the team, they're introduced to the customers, and then it's like, good luck. Let's pin a $20 bill to his collar and say, have a nice day, hope it works for you. Well, an onboarding program needs to be very specific. And so we typically help companies build that onboarding program. As well, with that onboarding program, we help provide training and development for whatever weaknesses do exist, because nobody's perfect. And we help the manager work with that person when they onboard so that they hit the ground running and we know what the expectations are. Big question typically is, well, I've got an 18-month sales cycle. How do I know if these salespeople are working or not? Well, let's break it down to the daily activities and the fundamentals that produce those results. And let's focus on that. Because if they're not going to do what they're supposed to do in the first 90 days, they're certainly not going to do it 90 days after that. So if you're looking to hire a world-class sales team, you want some help, we'll be happy to help you. We don't do it for you. We're not a recruiting company. We teach you everything the recruiting companies don't want you to know, and we give it to you in a format that's for sales, not for something else.